Biden's pulling an Obama and not shelling the Turkish-backed forces? Well, I mean, that's not surprising. That would be like getting involved in a whole goddamn war. Let me find the Biden statement. Where's the Biden statement?
Good afternoon.
Hey, me too, man.
A lot happening in the Middle East.
Thank you, Party Poppy.
After 13 years of civil war in Syria, more than half a century of brutal authoritarian rule by Bashar Assad and his father before him, rebel forces have forced Assad to resign his office and flee the country. We're not sure where he is, but there's word that he's in Moscow. At long last, the Assad regime has fallen. This regime brutalized and tortured and killed literally hundreds of thousands of innocent Syrians. The fall of the regime is a fundamental act of justice. It's a moment of historic opportunity for the long-suffering people of Syria to build a better future for their proud country. It's also a moment of risk and uncertainty. As we all turn to the question of what comes next, the United States will work with our partners and the stakeholders in Syria to help them seize an opportunity to manage the risks. You know, for years, the main backers of Assad have been Iran, Hezbollah, and Russia. But over the last week, their support collapsed, all three of them, because all three of them are far weaker today than they were when I took office. And let's remember why.
I feel like Iran is doing pretty well, actually. Hezbollah is weaker. Russia is weaker because of the commitment of resources to Ukraine and, you know, SWIFT and so on and so forth. I think, like, relatively speaking, I think Iran is doing a lot better. He really is taking credit for this? Well, in fairness, the two, like, dominoes that led to this were Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which massively weakened them and reduced their ability to interfere in foreign affairs, like other foreign affairs, I mean, and Hezbollah being, you know, like Lebanon being invaded by Israel. And Biden has had a pretty direct hand in both of those things by supporting Israel's invasion of Lebanon, you know, basically, and providing arms to Ukraine. So, you know, maybe he's actually the grand chess master. He's behind the shadows orchestrating the fall of Assad, you know? You don't know.
After Hamas attacked Israel on October the 7th, 2023, when much of the world responded with horror, Iran and its proxies chose to launch a multi-front war against Israel. That was a historic mistake on Iran's part. Today, Iran's main territorial proxy, Hezbollah, is also on its back. Only 12 days ago, I spoke from the Rose Garden about the ceasefire deal in Lebanon, a deal that was only possible because Hezbollah has been badly degraded. Meanwhile, Hamas has been badly degraded as well. Iran's own military capabilities have been weakened.
You want to talk about Syria?
Iran tried 2 times to attack Israel, and the United States and built a coalition of countries to directly defend Israel and help defeat those attacks. All this made possible for Iran and Hezbollah to continue to prop up, impossible, I should say, for them to prop up the Assad regime. Additionally, Russia's support for Assad also failed. And that's because Ukraine, backed by our American allies, has put up a wall of resistance against the invading Russian forces, inflicting massive damage on the Russian forces. And that has left Russia unable to protect its main ally in the Middle East. Excuse my cold.
He thought he would do this for 4 more years. Yeah, it's crazy when you look at this and go, wow, this guy and his team were really pushing to hold this together for 4 more years.
The upshot for all this is, for the first time ever, neither Russia nor Iran nor Hezbollah could defend this abhorrent regime in Syria. And this is a direct result of the blows that Ukraine, Israel have delivered upon their own self-defense with unflagging support of the United States. You know, over the past 4 years, my administration pursued a clear and principled policy towards Syria. First, we made clear from the start sanction on Assad would remain in place unless he engaged seriously in a political process to end the civil war, as outlined by the UN Security Council Resolution passed in 2015.
What is Max Blumenthal's opinion on this? Like I said earlier, there are a bunch of people on Twitter right now whose job is basically like laundering Russian propaganda, getting checks directly from the Kremlin, who are losing their minds over this. They're saying like anything and everything. They're screaming about how this invites more like colonialism because Assad was the only bastion, even though Assad was literally just a puppet state held up by Russia and was like representative of colonialism in the region. They're saying that this is going to lead to the Kurds getting slaughtered, as though they didn't already want the Kurds to be slaughtered. Like they say that this is going to lead to the death of civilians, as though they haven't spent the past decade defending or downplaying or like flat out denying the death of civilians at Assad's hands. Like they don't, yeah, again, they're propagandists. They don't care.
But Assad refused. So we carried out a comprehensive sanction program against him and all those responsible for atrocities against us.
What's the chance of ISIS regaining power in Syria? 0. I mean, some wild stuff would have to happen. Did you see the mask off moment with Syrian girl in the gas? Was that tweet edited? I only saw a screenshot of it. I saw Syrian girl tweeted something like, I wish we still had the gas, because she's been pretending that Assad hasn't used chemical weapons like for years. And now she's like, well, I wish they had more of them or something. No, it's real? Yeah. It's just a reminder that when people like that lie, it's not organic and you can't change their mind. They're aware of the fact that they're lying. Like Holocaust deniers. The Holocaust deniers don't actually think the Holocaust didn't happen. They just like denying it because it furthers their political goals. You can't actually change their mind on it because they don't believe the thing you're arguing against. Their real position is that they think the Holocaust is good, but that's not the position they're fronting because they know that would be much harder to defend. So they have to pretend that it didn't happen because then you're having a conversation about something else entirely, and they get to indirectly defend the Third Reich without taking like the direct affirmative position. Just always keep in mind who you're dealing with. Also, ideologically, people who defend Assad and people who defend Adolf Hitler are basically one-to-one. That's not even a joke. Again, like Assad's only use in the region, apart from bolstering Russia, was to torture and kill and intimidate and terrorize civilians freely. Like there's no project he was working towards. This wasn't being done in the service of a greater, this wasn't like a difficult and ineptly executed attempt at building a better world. It was cruelty for cruelty's sake. Like defense of him is defense of suffering for the sake of suffering.
Syrian people. Second, we maintained our military presence in Syria, our counter-ISIS, to counter the support of local partners as well on the ground, their partners, never ceding an inch of territory, taking out leaders of ISIS, ensuring that ISIS can never establish a safe haven there again. Third, we've supported Israel's freedom of action against Iranian networks in Syria and against actors aligned with Iran who transported lethal aid to Lebanon. And when necessary, ordered the use of military force against Iranian networks.
It's kind of crazy how, like, sauceless he is as a head of state, huh? Like, the fall of Assad's regime is a massive deal. And you, considering the fact that we're America, like, a strong hand and a strong voice in this situation could go a long way towards directing the future of the region. But he has neither. So he's just, like, blathering here, you know? This is because of me and because we supported Israel and Ukraine, Iran bad, Russia bad, Hezbollah bad, Houthis bad. Did I forget anything? Like there's no, where's the vision of the future, you know?
Works to protect U.S. forces. Our approach has shifted the balance of power in the Middle East. Through this combination of support for our partners, sanctions, and diplomacy, and targeted military force when necessary, we now see new opportunities opening up for the people of Syria and for the entire region. Looking ahead, the United States will do the following. First, we'll support Syria's neighbors, including Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq, and Israel, should any threat arise from Syria during this period of transition. I will speak with leaders of the region in the coming days. I had long discussions with all of our people earlier this morning. And I'll send senior officials from my administration to the region as well. Second, we will help ensure stability in eastern Syria.
Biden is lying. Syria was normalizing its relations with the Arab League. The reason why he's lying is because he doesn't want to give any credit to HTS. He's pretending the only thing that led to Assad's downfall here is like American sanctions and supporting Ukraine and Israel, when it was actually like tens of thousands of extremely brave some jihadists, some of them like more secular military, but like rebels taking Damascus and all the rest of the city. He's not mentioning them because he doesn't want to give any credit to the brown people who did this. And I will bring it back to race. I am woke. It's literally the overthrowing of a foreign despot by rebels within that country. It's extremely racist to be like, oh, well, we sanctioned them and that's why that happened. And also our backing of Israel. That's what really secured freedom for Muslims and Arabs across the Middle East. Our backing of Israel. Like, you have to...
Protecting any personnel, our personnel, against any threats, and remain our mission against ISIS will be maintained, including the security of detention facilities where ISIS fighters are being held as prisoners. We're clear-eyed about the fact that ISIS will try to take advantage of any vacuum to reestablish its capabilities and to create a safe haven. We will not let that happen. In fact, just today, U.S. forces conducted a dozen of precision strikes, airstrikes, within Syria, targeting ISIS camps and ISIS operatives. Third, we will engage with all Syrian groups, including within the process led by the United Nations, to establish a transition away from the Assad regime toward independent, sovereign, independent, I want to say it again, sovereign Syria, with a new constitution, a new government that serves all Syrians. And this process will be determined by the Syrian people themselves. And the United States will do whatever we can to support them, including through humanitarian relief, to help restore Syria after...
What about telling Israel to back down and not hold the purple line? To relinquish not only their invasion of Syria, which is taking place now, but the illegal holding of the Golan Heights. Just wondering. I mean, you say independent and free. Just wondering. Just curious if you mean that.
More than a decade of war and generations of brutality by the Assad family. And finally, we will remain vigilant. Make no mistake, some of the rebel groups that took down Assad have their own grim record of terrorism and human rights abuses. We've taken note of statements by the leaders of these rebel groups in recent days, and they're saying the right things now. But as they take on greater responsibility, we will assess not just their words, but their actions. And we are mindful that there are Americans in Syria, including those who reside there, as well as Austin Tice, who was taken captive more than 12 years ago. We remain committed to returning him to his family. As I've said, this is a moment of considerable risk and uncertainty. But I also believe...
Absolutely remarkable that we've made it this far into the speech without a single mention of the people who actually liberated Syria from Assad. Like, I think he's actually going to go the entire speech while pretending that Assad just, caught wind of the indignity of it all and passed out or died of a heart attack or something. Or it just flipped for no reason.
This is the best opportunity in
Syria just did that.
For Syrians to forge their own future, free of opposition. It's also an opportunity through far from certain, for a more secure and prosperous Middle East, where our friends are safe, where enemies are contained.
No, he mentioned them. He just said that they have a terrible history. Yeah, it's not really the acknowledgement that I'm looking for, I guess. It's what I'm not what I'm hoping for.
And it would be...
We celebrate the ousting of Assad and the overthrowing of his dictatorial regime, and we have nothing but contempt for the freedom fighters who did it. What?
A waste of this historic opportunity if one tyrant were toppled, and only to see a new one rise up in its place. So it's now incumbent upon all the opposition groups to seek a role in governing Syria, to demonstrate their commitment to the rights of all Syrians, the rule of law, and the protection of religious and ethnic minorities. These past few days have been historic. And, it's in the days ahead that will determine the future of this country.
Jesus Christ.
We intend to approach them with strength, wisdom, and resolve. So thank you very much. God bless America, and God protect our troops. Thank you.
What should happen to Assad now, Mr. President?
Mr. President,
What does the U.S. know about that war in the Middle East? What does the U.S. know about where Austin Tice might be and if he's safe?
Everyone has. You always get ready for the Biden turnaround, like no questions, and then it takes 4 minutes to swivel around.
I believe he's alive. We think we can get him back, but we have no direct evidence of that yet. And Assad should be held accountable.
Have you directed an operation to go get him, Mr. President?
Is Assad in Moscow?
Get who?
Austin Tice.
We won't want to get him out.
Yes, sir.
We have to identify where he is. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Europe. Biden can't say shit about the rebels. Wouldn't want to give anyone the wrong idea, you know? Yeah, but like even in the context of like a foreign nation being designated like in a terroristic sense, the Biden administration has still felt comfortable saying stuff like, you know, and if, you know, the Russian regime or the Iranian regime will like extend a diplomatic arm, we would be willing to talk to. You know what I mean? Why not do the same with the HTS or Al-Julani? Like, you know, many of the forces involved in the ousting of Assad are have pasts of terror, which we condemn. But in this, as we turn the page on Assad's regime in Syria, we look to see how the region develops and are, you know, extend our arms in greeting to, you know, the future rulers of the country. I like obviously workshop the statement, but like there has to be a way to thread that needle. Every Goomba glitch. Save the fun video right there for the bottom right. Is that Pan and Coic 2012? Yes, it is. Hey, I know my Pan and Coic thumbnails if when I see them.